Cheers, yo, episode 5. We have Pyroscopic today on the show. Pyro, if you have some social media that you would like to just plug really quick so people could figure out where to find you.
Cool. Yeah. I do most of my shit on Instagram at Pyroscopic, so you can find me there. Yeah, I go hard on the stories, and I put some original content on my main feed. And I also have a YouTube account at Pyroscopic, which you can see some more glass blowing videos and things like that from the past couple of years. But yeah, follow me up there. Keep in touch. See what I'm working on.
Yeah, so what about you got some dope merchandise. I see that Drugs 2020 shirt you're rocking right now. You got a website that people can go and find your merchandise and stuff?
Yes, exactly. So I have a Big Cartel, which the link is in my Instagram profile. You can check that out. And yeah, exactly. I basically just make a bunch of imagery, and then if there's something that's kind of unanimous and people are like, oh shit, I want a shirt, I'll go ahead and print something. So yeah, I just got these like 2 days ago, put them online yesterday. So there's still some sizes left. But yeah, it's super fun. I love it. And yeah, I never know. I just keep making ideas. I never really know exactly what ideas are good or bad. I don't really try and judge it. So I put them out, and then ultimately, if the people decide they want some merch or a print or an embroidered patch, I'll basically kind of follow through with that and try and supply the demand. But yeah, I also have a bunch of prints online that you can get. I also have a book I just put out earlier in the year, basically a bunch of hot glass photography from my previous studio in Philadelphia that I worked at for a while, which is called Crushmore, with Slinger and Germ and Trevi Metal and a whole bunch of artists that worked there throughout the years. But yeah, this is just check the Big Cartel. There's a bunch of stuff, and I'm always kind of refreshing it up and random shit. Blunt tubes, collaborations with glass friends of mine, and yeah.
Hell like yeah. Oh yeah, so I'm gonna heat up a nice dab right here to start it off.
Get it, dude. Nice.
I saw those glass tubes, those little blunt tubes that you were doing, and I was scrolling back through your Instagram earlier, looking at stuff, and I noticed that it's been a minute since you posted one of those
Most
blunt
definitely.
tubes. Have you been working on those recently? You got any new ones in the works or anything?
Yeah, soon there will be some new ones in the work. I have a couple things. I'm basically right now I'm in this year, which is I'm considering just like a weird chapter in life that I didn't really expect. Basically, obviously with COVID, things are very, very different, but I'm in between glass studios right now. I used to be in a place, Crushmore, which was a big group studio, and just basically as that closed down and COVID happened, and then now we're kind of working on getting a new studio space, so we're very close, maybe less than a month from having an operational studio, which is still in Philadelphia, and it's basically Slinger and Trevi Metal. And there's a section where I can pop up and do photos and video editing or graphic design or whatever, and just smoke blunts and hang out. But yeah, so it's been a weird year with no studio space and just basically at home. And yeah, so I haven't been making any glass. I haven't been able to travel. I haven't been like document events or shoot homies. And I could shoot homies in Philly, but ultimately I'm trying to do my best to act like COVID is real and not really, who the fuck, who really knows when you're dealing with something so invisible, whether, you could be healthy and have it. And I hate to bring it to somebody that can't handle it as well as maybe somebody that doesn't even know they have it.
Exactly.
So yeah, I've just been laying low, man, and trying to be creative. And so, yeah, I mean, that's a very long answer to your question, but yeah, I'm going to be full of long answers today.
You're totally chilling. 100%. Oh, we almost got this dab right here.
Get it. Yeah, dude, I love that rig, man. I saw that. So that came out at Ruckus. Yeah, so there's Malachias and Mickelson.
Yep.
I'm sure your viewers know. You smoked that thing off.
Oh, like, I ripped this piece every day. This is my most ripped piece by far. Cheers, yo.
It's so cool. I mean, there's no piece like that. I remember seeing it in person at Ruckus Gallery in Philly. I think Mickelson had a big show with a bunch of work and a bunch of collaborations, and that, to me, was super cool. Just obviously the whole in the bottle thing. As a kid, seeing a ship in a bottle just blew my mind. It's just how the hell do you get a ship in a bottle? So, and then to see that, he's taking it and running with it. And I like a lot of religious art. It's kind of very psychedelic. I'm not very religious myself, but religious art is some of the craziest art throughout history. It's
100%.
it's just well funded. Ultimately, it's like Rome
That's
has
what it
paid
comes down
so
to.
much
They paid
money.
so much money for it, so the artist could spend so much time on it.
Exactly, dude.
100%.
That's ultimately what it comes down to. And there's a lot of amazing art from people that ultimately have zero money and still make amazing crap. But it's about exposure and venue. I mean, you get a chance to paint the Sistine Chapel on the ceiling of the church of all churches or whatever. You better do some cool shit. You better know what you're doing, and you better get paid well. And so, yeah, I just feel like exactly, and obviously not just the church, but all these like crazy families, Medici family, you're just throwing money at artists. It's kind of crazy, and I like a lot of weird religious art, especially the more psychedelic shit. Salvador Dali did
Oh,
religious
shit's
paintings,
nuts.
and what the hell's going on there? He makes uh, Christianity look just super psychedelic, which is crazy. I imagine Jesus probably saw some pretty psychedelic stuff if he's starving in the desert for 40 days or whatever, So it makes sense to go with the visionary state if you're really talking about God mind or whatever the hell it may be. But yeah, no, I love that kind of religious art. Just it's all about how you translate it. But yeah, I don't know. I don't even know what I'm talking about.
You're
But yeah,
chilling.
the Nicholson piece, yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah. So
That
this piece,
painting,
Joey
the
told me the story
fucking.
the other day. Actually, he
Oh,
was.
I was watching that video to see like what these chats are like, just to prepare myself. And yeah, I was listening to that. Joey's the man. I love Malachias, dude. You're the best vibes. And to hear his stories like about that piece and shit is so cool.
Yeah, right. I hadn't
Never,
heard that story before. I knew. I knew they made it like right before, like right after that class, but I didn't realize the whole story behind it.
right.
So that was dope. That's
Yeah,
super cool to
exactly.
hear.
For anybody that didn't catch that stream, was if I remember correctly, it was basically like Malachias was taking a class from Nicholson, and it was super. They worked super late nights. And then at the end of the night, Nicholson said, "Joey, if you want to make something, we'll collab." And so he just stayed up even later and made this friggin' sculpture, which then Mickelson put in the bottle, and then came to the show, and now is in Cosmos's collection. But yeah, it's
Yep.
fucking. It's a great story. It's a cool to hear the creation story of a piece that's about the creation story. It's kind of like just perfect, actually.
Definitely. So, along the lines of favorite pieces, do you have any favorite pieces that you've made of your own, maybe collabs or solos or anything? You don't have to do like one specific favorite one. If you have one that stands out, definitely for sure. But you could do like top three.
Yeah, I mean, I've made a lot of weird stuff. I like to work in a lot of different mediums, so I'm an amateur at many things, and I would never really be able to point to one thing and be like, that's my best thing. But I think since that's the case, experimentation is kind of my thing. I like to try things I've never tried, or I'm probably not good at, or maybe I've never even, if possible, something I've never seen somebody do, or a different take on something I've seen. It's just, but yeah, no. There's one piece that sticks out is basically I did a series of typewriter
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Mm-hmm.
drawings, or I don't know what you call them. I
Yep.
call them stenographs. Which in court you have the lady, the stenographer, who's like basically typing everything that's being said for the court records. So the stenographer, the stenograph is ultimately the document created from a stenographer. So yeah, I call them stenographs, and yeah, basically just sat at a typewriter and was typing phrases and doing something for this. Actually, right behind me, this collaboration with my buddy Lot Comedy. If you guys don't know him, give him a follow. Super funny, psychedelic, just awesome artist, multimedia. But yeah, I was typing all these phrases, and we were going to glue them to this canvas, and he was going to paint over them. And yeah, basically, I realized the better I got over about 3 days, I realized I might be able to kind of, instead of typing straight across, I could maybe turn the wheel and get some fucking curves going on, almost like an Etch-a-Sketch. As you can try and, if you turn the wheel and lay the line, you might be able to draw curves. I was like, fuck, I think I could draw with this thing. And so I kind of slept on it and thought about it. I was like, what do I want to even try and draw? And so yeah, I'm a really big film buff, and I love this movie, The Shining. It's Jack Nicholson and directed by Stanley Kubrick, written by Stephen King. And there's a typewriter in that movie. He's a writer in a hotel, isolated with his family, and just basically trying to write this damn book. And he keeps getting bothered, and he's basically going crazy over time. And his wife finally comes to check out the book that he's working on, and she checks like the first page, and it just says like this one phrase, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. And she just,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
written over and over. And she's turning the page, and there's like 70 pages, and so he's just been typing the same thing for like 4 months now, and just losing his mind. And so yeah, there's this image. This is a take on that where Jack Nicholson kind of breaks through the door and like puts his face through the door and is just like, here's Johnny. And so that's just such an iconic image. It was like, maybe that's what I got to fucking draw. So yeah, I was like, let me type this John out. So I kind of basically laid it out a little bit in pencil first, and then fed it into the typewriter, and then then I try to figure out like, what do I even use? Because you have letters to choose from, characters, like punctuation, shit like that. And I was like, all right, let me use the phrase from the movie, all work, no play. And so I just start typing this out, and I wrote, you can hit it harder to get dark notes, you can hit it lighter to get soft notes. I'm like, I can even like do a little bit of shading if I want. And so yeah, I stayed up super late. It was like I don't even know, like 8 to 12 hour stretch, and I put on the soundtrack to The Shining, and it was like in the studio, nobody is there. It was like really kind of creepy vibes, and just punching this thing out, and it was kind of weird. Like I thought of it like method acting or something like that, where I try to get into character and think about what it was like to be a little crazy or isolated in a big space. It was cool. I was in the middle of Crushmore. It was like 4 a.m. and I'm kind of like hearing stuff, and like I don't know. It was, you start losing your mind a little bit. But yeah, so I basically composed this sketch of Jack Nicholson's face. I think I laid some prints out over here.
Hell yeah, that's perfect. Someone was actually asking about it in the chat too.
Yeah, we'll get the reference. You got to deal with the long story to get to the end of it. It's like torturous for any listener of mine, but eventually I get to the fucking point. But yeah, this is the thing I typed up, which
so
this is a print of it.
Crazy.
But yeah, it's crazy. There's all these phrases, all the text is kind of backwards, but yeah, I mean, ultimately, this was the first thing I drew with the typewriter, and the fact that the typewriter is a character in the movie, it's one of my favorite movies, and it was a medium with I've never seen anybody use a typewriter like that. No. I thought about Googling it just to see if somebody had done it before, but then I knew I'd learned some shit, and I didn't want to have that affect my process at all, so I didn't Google it. I just did it, and then afterwards checked it out, and then there are some people that mess with the typewriter drawings, but I don't know, everybody has a little bit of a different approach. Most people just go straight across, and but no, I'm stoked. Thank you, brother.
Killer.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, dude, that's fucking killer. I love
fucking
it.
A, man.
It's crazy.
Yeah, the original got scooped by a homie, Belf Glass.
Oh yeah, I know Belf, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, he's a glass artist and collector, and just like a gallery owner, and yeah, he saw it. He's like, dude, I need this, and so I was able to get him that, but I was able to do some prints as well, and there could be some of my big cartel. I really don't know what's up there. I definitely have a couple laying around, but yeah, it's just super fun to get the image out there. I think most people don't. I've never seen a typewriter used like that. So that's basically what I'm most proud of, is that just trying to be a little experimental. I think that's the most fun part, that I know I'm learning something instead of really mastering something and being like, I'm confident, I'm good at this, and then just really like pushing myself in one direction. I'm kind of just like seeing shit and trying it, and every once in a while something's cooler than others, I definitely make some terrible stuff.
Nah, dude, everything I've seen is fucking dope, but I guess you probably don't share everything, so that's how we
I don't post it, exactly. My homies in the studios, they see it, and obviously I like working around people because they can come through and kind of see what I'm doing, and maybe they do it in a way they're not just breaking me down. They literally offer just positive perspective on where they might have a question I didn't think of, or they might recommend a color, or like, yo, that looks weird, or something I didn't even see. And so a lot of my work is modified from people that help me realize that it's not as good as it could be, and I like that. I like the collaboration. It's all about trying to serve advice properly for people, and for people trying to receive advice properly without taking it personally. And so yeah, most of my work is ultimately just collaborations, and I'm rarely working isolated from outside input.
Yeah, well, hopefully you guys can get that studio set up sometime soon. Maybe we'll get a COVID vaccine going, so it feels a little bit safer to get back to some normal
We have totally. We have hazmat suits at the door for anybody that walks in. They can just fucking
That's perfect.
Watch us work safely. No, we're very close to being done. We've been a little quiet, a little hush, and just I usually post pictures of what I'm doing every day, but no, we've been slowly building it out, and yeah, but it's closer than I admit. I'm excited. Super excited. It's gonna be a whole new chapter, man.
Definitely. So you said you like working with experimental mediums. I saw that fucking assault girl that you did with the blunt wraps, with the backwoods wrappers.
Oh
Yeah, with all the wrappers. That one's fucking killer. I love that one.
Thank you, dude.
I'm curious how long that one took you.
That was a week, and it was 2 people and late nights. So me and Slinger both tackled that, and it was something we had thought about for over a year. You know what I mean?
Did you guys have to go about sourcing some of those packs and the wrappers and stuff, like trying to find them, or?
I mean, we sourced them, but it was all in-house. In-house. Yeah, we definitely we do our fair share of smoking blunts. Backwoods is our preferred. There's other. Trevi actually prefers like the Palma leaves, which is more like a bigger leaf, and you can cut it to size and shit like that. And it's obviously that's more cost efficient. If you're smoking a bunch of blunts, backwoods could definitely get expensive. But no, we smoked a bunch. Once we had the idea, we just started collecting, and I'd collect, Sling collect. Maybe a few homies would collect and bring them through, and people that kind of knew we were building a collection would just do us the favor. And but no, we would actually go online and try and find rare flavors to get different colors and variations and just cool words. And there's weird Russian stickers and Japanese lettering and cancer warnings from Germany and shit like that. So yeah, every time we saw something and it was available and affordable and not a total ripoff, ultimately we knew it was an investment in art supply. So we got to just get some blunts and then open them up and smoke them and set the wrappers aside. But yeah, we collected for over a year. We talked about maybe what image we would make, and it was kind of our go-to. Is me and Sling do a lot of collaborations with this assault girl. It's kind of a cult image in the pipe community, and there's just infinite sort of variations. I still don't know where the limit is, and to see it in this medium and to relate it to the blunt smoking and all of that, it's just it tied itself all together. And I probably could have just photoshopped it or something like that. To me, it was actually the fact that it was so hard to make was the fun part about it. It's like climbing a mountain with your homie ultimately, and to get that done, it was super tricky. I've made puzzles before, but I've never created and designed a puzzle and like cut the pieces, and we actually did it the hard way because we'd cut a piece and then we'd have to cut the matching piece, and we cut every fucking curve twice and made them fit perfectly, which honestly I could have laid down a bunch of brown in the background and then just kind of put the right pieces in place, and you wouldn't have had to really meet all the connections perfectly. But no, we kind of enjoyed doing it the hard way, and there were certain things I didn't know how we were going to do it, but then Sling would have an idea, and we end up kind of putting a canvas on the wall and figuring out like how we want to do it and getting a layout drawn out, and then we're trying to cut these pieces, and it was pretty mind-blowing. And creatively, he thought, we could actually project an image onto a backwood wrapper and then draw it and then cut the damn shape out. And instead of trying to like have the canvas and then have it on the canvas and look and cut, and then you can't see through the fucking wrapper, so it's impossible to know if your shape is correct. But if you project onto the front of the wrapper, which I would have never thought of that, it's like a mural technique or something like that. Something you would do in street art, But that was a little shortcut that helped us get to the fucking top of the mountain without, killing ourselves or each other. It was definitely, we learned some stuff. It was cool. I learned a lot. But yeah, it was at least a week. I was having an art show at Stoke in Connecticut, and we wanted a nice kind of centerpiece for that, and we just want something large to kind of when you walk in and see. And it was a dream for me and him to be able to make that and just see it come to life. But no, it took a little longer than we thought, and we probably could have chose a smaller canvas or something. But I'm really happy with the size of it. And
it was fucking dope, dude. That piece came out so killer.
Dude, thank you, man.
Hell yeah.
Honestly, we got some ideas for future collages, and not even just backwards wrappers, but just in general. I'm excited to see when we get this new studio space. We'll be doing a lot of multimedia, not even just glass or whatever you've come to expect. I like to switch it up.
Definitely. Oh, speaking of media and whatnot, you said you like to be experimental with your mediums. What are some random mediums that you've messed with that are just kind of ones that you never really expected to, and some fun ones?
Top of the list is glass, man. I think there's no more weird medium than glass, ultimately. It's one of the most unique materials in in the fucking universe. Ultimately, it's super weird. But when I started out like drawing with the crayons, I guess, and then I guess when I was 16, I would go. Philly has a pretty big art scene. There's a First Friday event. You can walk the strip and check out all the galleries, and I guess we'd go down there once a month. And my pops has turned me on to a lot of art and showed me a lot of different people. And one night he was down there and he walked into this gallery and they were blowing glass and they offered classes and he just signed me up. I mean, he didn't really ask me or whatever. And he came home. He was like, "Oh, I signed you up for this weekend class." I was like, "What is it?" He's glass blowing. I was like, "Oh, okay." I didn't really know a lot about it, but I was down to check it out, and I went, and it was actually it was just mind blowing to see it molten glass and the dude working it like basically like a magician like.
Was that cold working or was that Boro on the
torch? This was like soft glass, hot glass, but it was soft glass, so it was with a furnace and a glory hole, and he had a big glass blowing pipe, more like Italian style glass blowing, and but he wasn't making bongs or pipes, and but it was more. Soft glass is very good for public demonstrations and stuff like that. A lot of times those First Friday events are usually like soft glass. You could see it from all directions, and it's very like big and flashy. You can see from a distance and things like that. So that's usually how I got hooked. I think there's a lot of how people get hooked. Other than experiencing finished glass, I think when you see it being worked, it just exposes you on a whole new level, and then you realize there's not a lot of shit out there that even works like that. The closest thing is ceramics, but
clay.
That is but you use water to soften the material instead of heat, and then you work vertically and spin that way instead of glass blowing. You're spinning that way, but that they're very much related. I mean, glaze on ceramics is glass, and the Egyptians came up with like all that shit. So as far as I know, I mean, aliens came up with all that shit. But it's he's like,
and then taught the Sumerians is what they did.
I don't even know, dude, who the fuck knows, man? Who knows? History starts at a very certain time. I'm sure that you've
researched a lot of that shit. Have you looked into the Sumerians?
I actually probably, I definitely love researching. I'm a freak for Wikipedia, and I grew up on Jeopardy and shit like that, so I definitely I try and get into it, especially if people are talking about it. I'm like, what the hell are they talking about? But no, I mean, I went to art school, so they made us study art history, which just goes back to the fucking at the beginning, like as far back as you can document, art being made, basically cave paintings with handprints on the walls and stuff like that, which that's as far back as they want. It's like cavemen ultimately. It's like these people figured out how to make pigment with whatever kind of materials, like natural materials, ochre and shit like that.
Whatever,
exactly, like iron and rust. I literally have no freaking clue where they got the color red from, but they mixed this pigment, and then they took a bone that was hollowed out, because we have marrow in our bones, so it's like this. It's like a big ass straw, and they're taking this pigment and they're like blowing it through this bone like a blow dart or whatever, and their hand is on the cave wall, and then they're basically spray painting pigment onto the cave wall and using their hand as a stencil. It's like some weird the first art was basically street art, or like cave street art, but it was they're basically vandalizing this cave that they were stuck in because they were hiding from dinosaurs or whatever whatever coexisted back then that was higher on the food chain, like just saber-toothed tiger or woolly mammoth or whatever. But and then they kind of just progressively teach you how man-made creation escalated throughout time, and just it's kind of that random cave paintings and stuff for a while until people weren't nomadic anymore. They started stopping and like doing agriculture and then building like houses to live in, and then architecture ultimately happened. And that's like the first real chapter of like art history you learn. It's like, and it's a lot of Egyptian, and then like the Greeks stole from that, and the Italians stole from that, and like America stole from all that shit. Like when you see our big columns and all that, it's all just like Egyptian, Greek, like just genius architecture, which I don't even know how they got to that point of just
the Egyptian stuff was absolutely insane. Like some of the stuff. So the pyramids, right? I think it's generally accepted the pyramids were there before the Egyptians, and they settled at the pyramids. But that being said, they added some things inside of the pyramids that are unmistakably Egyptian, and a lot of those are
I
these
like that.
ginormous fucking columns of stone that are carved, and they're like literally these columns that are so massive, but they're pieced together. You can see that they're pieced together, like these massive pieces
Are
of
these
hand
the
carved.
square ones, or they're circular?
I think a lot of them are circular columns, yeah. That they
Okay.
and you can see the different pieces where they edge them together. And then there's other structures in Egypt that there are more monolithic structures that are like 15 meter by 15 meter by 15 meter laser cut bedrock. Nobody could have fucking
Laser cut bedrock. I love
straight
it.
up. We couldn't even make them today if we wanted to. They were obviously materialized there long before, you know. And I think personally, this is my opinion. Everyone has a different opinion. I think that what happened is some entities came to Earth when we were, you know, way back before we were fully developed, and they're like, hey, here's the basis for civilization. We're going to materialize you some fucking pyramids so you can harness the centrifugal force of Earth spinning through the fucking universe with its massive gravitational pull. You can harvest this natural centrifugal energy that we have of the Earth, and you can have global energy. And sometime down the line, humans are assholes like humans are, and they decided that power just destroyed and just dismantled all of this that we were given, right? And you can go and look at the tablets and maybe see evidence of this that's potentially like valid, but realistically there's no like huge 100% this is right or this is wrong, you know, but that's just that's my opinion of where.
Dude, that was balling, man. I mean, yeah, history is arguable, and you just laid down you just laid it down, which is cool, and we all have the right to like imagine whatever the fuck we happen, because ultimately history starts at a certain point. And we really don't know what happened before history was documented. So,
100%.
And we're bound to get as creative as we want. Ultimately, religions come up with some pretty funky stuff for what happened back then. So why not fucking lean into it? And yeah, I've read books on that entertain a lot of those theories, and like whatever, Atlantis being some culture that had, you know, maybe they had iPhones, but then the Great Flood washed it all out, and now Atlantis is off the coast of Japan. And like, dude, I'm not scuba diving to find that out. And, you know, ultimately do your own research, but who the fuck knows is ultimately, can I curse on Twitch? Is that?
Oh yeah, you're totally good. Yeah, you can curse.
We've probably been doing it the whole time, but
all
might
the
as well
shit's
check.
totally good. You're good.
All right. I mean, we're laying out conspiracy theories about aliens building pyramids. I'm sure that's like more censorable than the F word. But yo, give me 1 second.
Yeah,
I'll be right back. But
you're chilling.
can you hear me while I walk away from my computer?
Oh yeah.
All right, good. Oh. I didn't know you were gonna go this hard with the fucking theories, but I came prepared, my dude.
Yes, it's perfect. It's perfect. I love it,
dude. It's kind of weird with the headphones, but
I love it.
All right, dude. Perfect.
You guys should do those on the website. You guys should do the tin hats.
You know what? I want to hit up Grassroots and see if they want to do a collab. I think that I'd like it to be made out of a reflective material that is tin based, but tin foil is obviously super. You know, you can puncture right through it or something.
Yeah.
But maybe whatever they built the lunar module, that gold tin foil that survives space travel, maybe that's strong enough.
Yeah,
I don't know.
People love that type of like gag gift where it's like, you know, it's like still cool, but it's like it's totally a gag, you know, and like people like I'm gonna start selling on my website. I'm gonna sell the Cosmos jar of farts. I'm literally just gonna have these empty jars that are branded as like a jar of farts. I'm gonna spray like a gnarly amount of fart spray inside of them and just be an empty jar, and you can like give it to your home and be like, dude, I got you this jar of farts. And they'll be like, no, wait, it's actually gonna smell, and they'll open it and be like, oh my god, I shouldn't have opened this, you know.
Oh my god, dude. That's next level shit. I love it, honestly, yeah. Well, the thing is that, you know, on the other end of the joke is, you know, there's always a small percentage of people who take that seriously, you know. Somebody really has a tinfoil hat out there. Somebody really wants somebody to put them in production. They think that would be a service, you know, to humanity. And, you know, everybody's valid. You know, the fart jar, I'm sure there's somebody out there who loves the fucking smell of farts. It's just next level. But that gift would be appropriate, and they wouldn't laugh it off. They'd be like, this is... You really know me. You know, you really, really know me. Which is crazy. No, if you wanted the game, I 100% full respect, because you would actually fart in the damn jar. And maybe just send that one to an enemy. But obviously, I don't know the health. Yeah,
I was like, I couldn't actually fart in the jar, because that would actually be kind of gross. But some fart spray, that'd be good, right? I'll have to put a disclosure, though, on my website. I'd be like, Be like, disclosure, Cosmos does not actually fart in these jars.
Right.
But then
right?
people wouldn't
exactly.
realize they actually smell really bad until they open it, and they'd be like, "Oh no, I regret everything."
Yeah, if you could break a stink bomb and then put it in, and then once they open it, ultimately their whole apartment is fucked.
Yep, that's
Really
basically
open the windows.
Yeah, I could either do that. I could break a stink bomb and put it in. Well, I was thinking there's this spray called liquid ass or something like that just smells like butt. And so I was just gonna spray just an obscene amount of that liquid butt, and then just seal the jar right away, right? And just fucking, that's that, and it's sealed, dude. And it's just like,
who makes that? Oh my, who even is like the guy who invented the liquid ass? Or that he's sitting in a lab coat, like studying ass smells, and just like, this isn't right. This isn't. We need more spicy, or like, what's even the universal ass smell? I'm sure every culture is different fucking smelling. Do they have different smelling farts? I really don't know. These are the questions I ask myself.
I think so. I mean, think about it. When you eat different things, your farts smell different. If you eat a lot of fried food, it smells different. You eat a lot of cabbage, it smells different. Speaking of farts, right? I was going to do...
So how did he come up with the
liquid ass? Well, see, there's a demand for these types of things because, like, I think there's a multi-million-dollar company that they literally send poop to people. It's like you can send poop to your enemy. You give them their address, and they'll send them a box of poop, and it's like gift wrap, so it seems like a nice gift, and then they open it up, and it's fucking cow poop, and they're like,
oh, wow, oh my god, dude, that's insane. That's fucking, I love that. See, I hope these people are getting paid out, because it's ultimately,
they are.
Not only is the idea great, but they're executing with follow through and building websites and buying materials and shipping the stuff, and
they're actually sending poop,
cashing checks, for selling poop. I mean, it's an insane thing, but that just proves that entrepreneurialism is really the way. If you have a fucking idea and there's enough people out there that vibe with that, you can build a community based on that. That's a funny damn thing.
It's true. Well, kind of speaking of, actually, this is not at all. I was gonna say, speaking of poop, let's talk about food. This is just a super random question that we had earlier. Yeah. What is your favorite?
Let me cheers yo real quick.
Oh, yeah. Oh, shit, I'm going to have to load another bowl, too. Cheers, yo. Also, someone said, can you imagine the guy who came up with vanilla and raspberry artificial flavors that come from the beaver anal gland?
The beaver ass juice, yes. That dude was well informed. Fuck yeah. I was going to bring that up. My mind went fucking off on a direction. But, yeah, you were talking about liquid ass, and it reminded me that,
beaver
exactly.
Ass juice is actually...
It's raspberry flavored, which makes you wonder who figured that out. And like,
so you're telling me I love the flavor of beaver ass juice?
I actually don't like raspberry flavoring at all. No.
But vanilla too? Vanilla as well?
I'm more of a chocolate guy or mint chocolate chip.
Okay.
But no, raspberry's never my thing, dude.
Okay.
No. Even like fruit and dessert, not necessarily the same thing. I mean, banana split's dope, but like, chocolate covered strawberry is dope, but it's ice cream, fruit toppings, not my thing. Strawberries and chocolate ice cream is not. It doesn't work.
What about pie then?
Pie, yeah, I'm an apple pie, dude.
Apple pie? Okay.
Apple pie, and that's an exception where I'll have vanilla ice cream, but it has got to have some caramel, just to kind of like
balance
juice it up.
Out. Yeah. So it matches the vibes of the apple pie, I feel like.
Yeah, exactly. It's basically because pie is so damn dry that it breaks down the pie. You do a half scoop of pie, half scoop of ice cream, and it works itself out in your mouth, ultimately.
Otherwise, it's way too dry. Last night I was eating some Marionberry pie, and I took like a bite, and I was like, God damn, this is just so sweet and so just like dry, and it's just pure sweetness. It's pure dry sweetness. It needs ice cream to cut it down.
What the hell's a Marionberry?
Marionberry it's an Oregon
like a jazz singer or something.
Yeah, it's kind of like a blackberry essentially, but it's like a little bit sweeter than a blackberry, and they're native to Oregon, so they're like, if a Marionberry is just a very Oregon thing. I live out here in Oregon, and that's like, so like a lot of places here have Marionberry. It's like very
Marionberry. Nice. Yeah, no, I don't think we even have those things out here, dude. Marionberry.
Yeah, just a maybe we do. I'm not. Of berry. It's kind of like a blackberry.
Yeah, it's like the heady berry. You kind of got to know or have a plug, or just have been exposed to it somehow. It's like the hardcore berries.
So you said you went to art school. Just a little another tangent. Did you go to Tyler?
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, I went to Tyler. Yeah, Tyler School of Art in Philly, which was at the time was in North Philly, right outside like Elkins Park area, North Broad Street. But yeah, I went to Tyler, I was living in Pennsylvania, so it was an in-state college. I looked at a couple different schools. I looked at School of Visual Arts in New York, but ultimately Tyler had a glass program, and I had blown glass when I was 16 from that weekend course, so I kind of knew if I had a chance, I might major in that. And yeah, so I went to art school in Philly, and it was exactly what I needed. Ultimately, the first year there, you have to take basic courses, and then after that, you can choose your classes. And so yeah, I basically it had the opportunity to major in glass, and I went there as a painter and a drawer. I already knew how to draw pretty well. I took some classes in figure drawing. I was like, 16, taking summer courses at Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts and just drawing like naked people. I mean, men, women, old people. It's good on some days, and the other days it's just like, all right, I'm here to just learn how to draw. And it's a trippy thing. As a 16-year-old, you're all like, hella, whatever the even word is, but to be put in that situation where you're like, all right, I'm trying to learn art, but
you're like, but boobies.
Someone is disrobing in front of me for one of the first times in my life. I'm like, I got to just be mature, focus, but no, I learned so much from figure drawing, basically how to like try and look at something and put it on paper. And so if I was going to art school for 4 years, I don't know if I wanted to spend mad loot to learn something I was kind of okay at. My room to grow was much smaller in that field. Where glass, I basically knew nothing, and I could devote 3 years. It's probably still not enough time to even get started learning how to work the material. So yeah, I decided basically just put drawing and painting aside, focus on glass. And also painting, they don't really offer you anything. You walk into the studio, it's an empty room. They have some easels there, super old easels covered in paint, and then they have these skylights in the roof so that the light can come in so you can work. But then you have to buy all your paint, your canvas, your fucking whatever else you use, brushes, which is actually super expensive. Yeah, and that's the nature of most mediums. Ultimately, if you're a printmaker, you got to buy, a lot of your paper is super expensive, and your screens, and you kind of want to buy that stuff anyway, so you can pop open a studio after you graduate anyway. But when you realize what the costs are, it's kind of insane. Where in the glass studio, when you walk in, it's equipped with multi-million-dollar equipment. Well, there's two different studios, but yeah, ultimately the idea is that the equipment that they provide for you is something you don't have access to at home. If I wanted to learn painting at home, I could get a skylight, I could get all the materials, I could hire a private instructor. But if I wanted to learn glass, I can't build a studio. I would have to maybe rent time, or
especially
so I was renting time.
Especially soft glass, soft glass studios are insane. I mean, even to get a torch and a kiln and all that, it's 10 grand. Anyone that's like, you're looking to get into fucking working on a torch, realistically, you want to, for a build out and everything, you want to have proper ventilation. You want to have $10,000 to buy all your glass materials and everything. You have $10,000 set aside. You can probably comfortably start a little glass studio, like in a garage or a standalone shed that's outside. If you have someone that can do a build out, that's not going to charge you an obscene amount.
For sure. Especially, I mean, if you have someone to help you and understand what you're doing. I mean, there's no way to do it. There's no shortcuts. You definitely need ventilation. It's not even like there's certain things you can't really cut corners when you want to do it safely. Torch blowing, whatever the hell they call it, flame working, much more affordable to get started. And that's kind of why there's been a big wave for people that can ultimately go online and get a list of things that you would need and maybe figure it out themselves if they don't have homies around them that they can join a studio or come help them build their home studio or whatever it may be. But soft glass would be ultimately impossible. You would need a full, like a grant from the government or a philanthropist or some kind of nonprofit that you use as a front to just basically make your art, but you have to figure out a way to provide a service. You could teach the community glass classes or hold events and things like that. It's how a lot of people do it in the soft glass world. But no, it's impossible. It's just because you have to have a furnace with this torch that's blowing inside this huge furnace, and the inside there's a crucible with a pot of glass which has to stay melted all day, every day, for maybe an entire year, maybe multiple years, depending on how often you switch out the crucible. Over time, they can crack, and you have to replace it. You ultimately want to replace it before it cracks, because that can definitely flood, which is a nightmare. To have the gas and the fuel to be able to melt glass constantly and just have a hot pot of glass ready for you to work at all times. I mean, it's insane. And you would need to actually utilize that time all the time to even get your money's worth, to take advantage of the fact that it's there, melted, ready to be used. You better be using it. So where glass torch, flame working, you can stop and start and sort of not be burning money constantly, which is, yeah, that helps. I'll live for a lot of starving artists trying to make it happen.
Definitely. Okay, I got a couple questions for you here.
Yeah, shoot, bro. Can we get some water while you're there?
People do it up. All right. Okay. This is just kind of a side question. When I was looking through your Instagram, I saw a picture of you with a blue heeler that was pretty fucking cute.
Oh yeah, dude.
Is that your dog?
That is not my dog. That is Squid. Real name Sydney.
Oh, is that whose dog?
That is, it's Trevi. So it's Trevi Metal's dog.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yep. That's what I thought. That makes sense.
Exactly.
He's cute.
Yeah. So Squid is my homie Trevi. He's a badass artist. If you guys don't know, you got to follow him.
Definitely,
he's always
follow
making
Trevi Metal.
Crazy psychedelic shit.
Shit.
But yeah, his dog Squid is, dude. It's the dog of all dogs. I was never a dog person. I've never owned, or I don't even know if that's the fucking right word. Jesus, that sounds like terrible.
But owned an animal, you're good. That's what people say.
Yeah, no, is that how they talk? I don't know. It sounds.
Do you have cats?
Maybe I don't. No cats. When I grew up, I had a box turtle named Bob. Yeah. That was dope. Yeah, but I don't know what happened, but I think it died one day, and my dad said he took it to the park and set it free in the river or something. I think he just took it like to the gutter or the dumpster or something. But he gave me some romantic story about Bob's funeral service. Not true, but still kind of bitter about that. But no, Bob was the shit, but really no emotion. I couldn't really bond with Bob. It was kind of the dude was in a box. You try and bond with him, he just kind of goes inside. Yeah. So it's just, turtles are not very heartwarming. I mean, they're like just slow, defenseless dinosaurs, or they're defenseful, but they're not non-offensive. But yeah, no. And then we had a parakeet. My oldest brother had a parakeet, which they're cool. Parakeets are like a thing. They're a thing to have. They make noise and then they poop on the newspaper in the bottom of the cage. But no, his parakeet was named Kent, which for some reason he named his bird after his best friend, which is just funny. He's just like, my buddy Kent, I'm gonna name the bird after you. So we had a parakeet for a while, and that was cool. We actually gave it to our neighbor across the street. My brother was carrying it over to the neighbor. It was just trying not to let it fucking fly away. He's probably 7 or 8 years old, but by the time he got to his neighbor, he hands it to them, and it's fucking dead. He had accidentally kind of smothered this damn bird on the walk over to the neighbors. He didn't want it to get away, but he didn't understand like level of care. It was some like Of Mice and Men kind of thing where he didn't.
Seriously, yeah,
he didn't understand
that's
his strength.
Sad.
It was a sad thing for a kid to go through, and for them to receive a dead bird was even darker. It was like, they didn't know what was going down. But no, I guess my history with pets isn't great. My mom said she was allergic. I still don't know if that's truth or she just didn't want to feed another animal because she had 3 boys. It's like having 3 dogs running around the house. Ultimately,
true, no doubt, yeah. So
and then
you have brothers. Were you a silly kid?
Yeah, I am the youngest of 3, which I think I've heard that sometimes the youngest is the funny one or something like that, where I think they have to fight for attention from the older brothers. I don't know if that's a complex that I have, but probably. But no, ultimately you have all these older brothers, and I don't know. They're trying to figure shit out. I guess life is a little intense, but I was able to actually be a spectator. They actually got in trouble more than I did. I was sort of able to learn from what they did wrong and then not really make those decisions, and that's cool. So it protected me, but also just there'd be a big family party. I'm kind of smaller and in the corner, and they're better at talking, but shit, I can be physically funny. So it turned into some kind of silliness as a young kid, which it's turned into, I guess, kind of performative. And I've always loved comedy and physical comedy, and not taking myself too seriously. I'm willing to make myself look a fool if it's worth a laugh, or I think that's okay. It's better than making fun of someone else. I think ultimately, so that's how I kind of evolved, and my comedy evolved. And yeah, I love comedy, and even as a kid, I played a couple sports just due to the nature of popular culture, but like when it came to watching the game, I in Philly we have this fanatic, Philly Fanatic is the mascot here, and and he runs around like a buffoon, just like this big green monster, and just like with a one of those Johns that you blow at like a New Year's comes out of his nose, and like
Okay. I think I've seen this mascot.
He's a weird mascot. It's just a big green furry, like a Sesame Street kind of dude. It's not any animal. They just call him the Fanatic ultimately because he's just He's just so excited. He's crazy, and that's the vibe I think was inspired by. I found out that somebody was inside of the suit, at a young age. It just blew my mind. I was like, wait, someone's inside there? And I was like, and so my parents were like, yeah, it's his job. What the fuck? That's someone's job? And then I was like, how much does someone like that get paid? I don't know what it was. It was probably the late 80s, early 90s, but I think somebody told me they get paid a good amount of money, which I don't know what, 6 figures or something to be a mascot. Even there might even be multiple dudes that go in the suit, but the idea that was a career choice, it changed my whole outlook on life. Because they tell you could be whatever you want when you grow up. And a lot of people go, it's fireman or cop or astronaut if you're hopeful. And but my first career choice was I want to be the Philly Fanatic. It just like it was such a weird thing. And
awesome,
I'm still working. I got to try out. I haven't met my dreams yet, but I'm, they change a lot, man.
One day I aspire to do this, at least for one night.
For sure. I've lived that dream in many ways, honestly. Not many ways, but I get that out in different platforms. My mom for a while worked at this place, the New Jersey State Aquarium, and they have a mascot there. It's like Shelly, can't even say it, Jesus. Shelly the seahorse, that's a tongue twister.
Oh, they would do that. Does she sell seashells by the seashore too?
She probably does. I think she has like a banner. It just says New Jersey, and then there's like shells attached, and she's like glittery. It's just super weird seahorse, kind of just overweight and just like waddling around the lobby, and it's not even very inviting for children. It's kind of scary. But I was with my mom at work one day. It might even be like take your kid to work day, but I saw the damn outfit like in the corner, like the head detached, and I was like, oh my god, Mom, can I try it on? And she's like, all right. And I put the suit on, and I was like, this is amazing. It was so gross. It's basically a hockey helmet on the inside of it's like a styrofoam, and then it's upholstered with, dude, and it just smelled like fucking hockey people. Like, it was like just the thrill was way worth it. I mean, I was just like, I want to go into the lobby. Mom, can I go out into the lobby and can I be Shelly for a day? And she's just really deciding whether she wants to let me do it or she wants to like risk losing her job. But no, she let me go, and like she came out with me to make sure I didn't, like beat up kids or whatever I had in mind. Because but no, I went out and I played the role, and I didn't even talk, and I just kind of walked around, and I was just like waving, and the kids would come up and they're like, Shelly, and I'm just like just waving, and it was just so weird, dude, because it's just weird. You get attention, but it's not for being who you are. You're just being a fake seahorse, but there's some magic in it, especially for the children that are like seeing that. And I remember seeing the Fanatic and being like, oh my god. And like, so it was cool to be behind the magic, like Wizard of Oz. You're behind the curtain. You kind of see what goes into the craft to make the effect work on the viewer. And that was some power I was interested in, or whatever, a technique, or like some kind of thing that I thought was worth pursuing. I even got into acting later, and then eventually art and things like that, and just basically learning different crafts and music. I love music, that I wanted to learn how you make it so that I could see how the magic was working, or like why it was affecting me that way. And then, so yeah, I just try and study a craft and get behind it so that I can analyze the effect it's having, and then maybe recreate that if possible for other people. But yeah, I was the silly kid. I actually won an award in Philadelphia, silliest kid in Philadelphia, which it was a one-time competition. It was sponsored by General Mills cereal, the cereal Tricks, which, obviously silly rabbit tricks are for kids, that whole fucking thing. And the competition took place at New Jersey State Aquarium, and that's the only reason we heard about it. My mom heard, and she was like, wait, my kid is a friggin' clown, so I'm just going to sign him up. My parents like signing me up for things. So yeah, she signed me up for this competition. It was insane. But yeah, no, I went to this competition. There's like 60 kids or something, and I swept house. I just ran the show. No, I'm kidding. No, there was a bunch of good kids. It was fun, and But I had there was like one dude there that knew I was my mom's son, and when I was done, he just was like, "Yeah!" And like did this applause, and then it was the whole crowd just went crazy. At least by memory, I was probably like 9 years old, but then the whole crowd standing ovation, and everyone's just. There was that part in the movie where like that slow clap starts, and then everyone just starts clapping, and I took the crowd. I mean, no, that's how I remember it. It was probably way less intense, but no, they gave me some title, silliest kid in Philly, which I'll never let go of. I actually didn't tell people for like 20 years. I just, if you get to know me well enough, then I'll kind of mention it, and a lot of people just don't believe me that it's even real, and I was like, no, it's for real. I was like, oh, I was on Good Day Philadelphia the next day, and then a year later I was on Sally Jesse Raphael to tell my story, and like, yeah, all right, I thought I believed you, and now you're on Sally, you're fucking lying. And I'm like, no, I'll pull up the video. And that's ultimately when people believe me. I'm like, no, it's fucking real. It's weird because I remember being in that body when it happened, but I've been so many different versions of me throughout life that it's funny that I would even decide to do that at that age, to just step into the fucking national television spotlight to do some dumb shit. I mean, it was pretty nerve-wracking, but I felt like that to me was a fear I wanted to conquer, and I'm glad I did, even if it is just me being a doofus for 1 minute on TV. It's a fun life experience that I have, and I feel like it just thickens your skin for the future. You never know really what you're going to have to deal with, but being yourself unabashedly in front of a lot of people it's great practice, man. It's not easy, and yeah, even talking to a camera and things like that, it's a skill that more people are going to have to get used to. So just be able to talk to a camera comfortably and not feel awkward or self-judgmental or whatever it may be that make you just not post a video or not make as much content or whatever it may be that stopping people from just taking it to the next level of letting their following know exactly who they are in the most direct way possible. I mean, I'm guilty of that too. I should be doing more videos. I should have been doing YouTube videos this whole damn time, like every time I traveled somewhere, ultimately, which I did my best. But the amount of work it takes to create content on a daily basis is exhausting. Ultimately, I'm sure you know. But you just got to find a way to stay inspired and feed the energy and let the community fucking support you and do every day as hard as you can. I mean, we're gonna die eventually, so we got to be happy with whatever path we choose. Yeah, but yeah, I'm happy to be where I'm at now, and even if it was just being like silly and not taking shit seriously for a long time, I think I'm trying to turn that fun childhood lifestyle into something more sustainable. Which is fun. I make memes and art and put out funny shirts that I would want to see people make and stuff, and yeah, it's just a really, really fun opportunity. I'm super, super thankful that it's after years and years of trying to figure out how to maybe be an artist, and then years and years of being a starving artist. It's cool to find some fucking like balance in it all, where you don't have to be an extreme workaholic, but you can still make ends meet, doing what you love, and as long as you push yourself and you're pushing yourself with whatever it is you're trying to do. But yeah, no, I'm super thankful for the opportunity, and that's kind of what makes me work super hard every day. Yeah, it's been a crazy year just being like holed up inside. I've been consumed in it, but it's been amazing, man. I've learned a lot. I've been studying a lot. I've been making a lot. I've been trying to share what I think is interesting. Yeah, it's super fun. It's a crazy journey, and we never know when it's going to end, so I just got to go as hard as I can.
No doubt. Yeah, if you guys haven't been following Pyroscopic stories on Instagram, he has been posting an insane amount on Instagram, and like I don't think a lot of people understand how much effort it takes to post that much on your Instagram story. Like sometimes it's easy to make like 5 posts, like that's kind of easy, but Pyro literally sometimes 15, 20 posts on his story in a day, and a lot of them sometimes are very like it's centered around current political situations, and a lot of them are well researched and things that aren't just like a snapshot of something that's like really easy to post, like just like you smoking a bowl or something like that, which is easy a lot of the time. Sometimes up to like fucking 50 posts, and literally that shit takes time, A lot of them are very informed, and they have information that you would want to know regarding the situations, you know, because everybody knows that the news never shows both sides, and there's never that full amount of research, which Pyro fucking does, and then he shows you the research, and he lays it out in a way that's easily acceptable and palpable for anyone to absorb, just by clicking through it, you know, in a way that would be much quicker for anyone else, but he does all the effort for us, so it's very appreciated.
That is so well said, dude. Thank you so much, man. A lot of people don't get it. I actually get DMs from people that see me posting so much, and they're like, "Are you okay? Are you having a Instagram meltdown, or like your stories don't have any coherent and I'm like, dude, the world's not coherent. There's so much going on, and I'm inspired by a lot. I'm learning a lot, but no, you're totally right. I mean, if you haven't seen my stories or you haven't been following, if you go to my profile on Instagram, on the bottom, I made highlights, which you can actually go back, and they're broken down into categories. You can learn more about shit that's been happening this year. Weird propaganda. I do a lot of historical, like, kind of comparisons to what's going on. So shit that happened in the 60s and how things may be repeating themselves, and just studying American history, art history of racism in America, and like current events and protests. And yeah, dude, it's been a crazy thing. Basically, you're right with that approach, because I'll watch a 2-hour documentary on something and then really think about it, and then just break it down. If I can break it down into maybe 2 or 3 memes or story posts, so that you don't have to go watch the whole damn thing, and I can kind of sum it up in what I took out from it in a way that is like, okay, this is what I got. And also, if this interests you, you can go watch the whole documentary, but I'll sit there for 2 hours and watch the documentary, or watch an entire Trump speech or something, just to find that one sentence where he totally leans into something that could be easily seen as racist or xenophobic or whatever. But, you know, if you don't listen to the damn speech, you don't know. I blocked it out for many years, and then ultimately everybody in social media is saying this kind of racist stuff. I'm like, where are they getting it? It's like, I mean, they're not getting it all from him, but he actually leads a lot of these talking points out to the people in speeches, and it's like, damn, it's all in there. You just have to actually look through it. And I like to study propaganda and how it works, and how they can translate over time, different languages, different countries, different governments, and trying to study, like, what are we seeing right now, and how do you break it down? And yeah, no, it's not a good picture, dude. It's kind of exhausting to follow along. I have props to anybody who has followed along. Awareness is fucking exhausting, and it's probably more exhausting to do the research and put it together yourself. And I mean, I understand people wanting to be passive. It's easier to just like build your own happiness and fucking work on that. Build a family, whatever it is that people got going on. But yeah, I totally devoted a huge chunk of my life to, at least this year, to build my understanding of what's happening, and then maybe pump it out in a way that's a little more condensed. And you know, even just, I'll read a Wikipedia article and it blows my fucking mind, and then I'll just take the paragraphs that I like and put them in my stories with like a really dope photo of the person they're speaking about. Because I love photos and historical photography of people at different ages and telling their life story, and just laying out 4 posts about, you know, a Native American activist like Richard Oakes, who, you know, died at the age of 30. He actually, during his short lifetime, he was a crazy Native American activist, and moved to San Francisco, and they actually occupied Alcatraz, which, if you don't know Alcatraz, it's a prison on an island in San Francisco. And so these Native Americans and activists, they took a boat and stormed the island. It was a peaceful occupation, but they lived on the island for like 570 days. And the whole idea was that this prison had shut down 10 years ago, and that land is not being used by the government. And ultimately, that's federal land that's not being used. It should, according to the treaty, whatever the hell it's called, there's a couple treaties that they don't recognize. But that land, any unused federal land, basically just reverted back to the Native Americans. And they were reclaiming that. And they were saying, what do you guys want to do? You want to give us our land, or do you want to come in and take us away violently and just prove that y'all are just genocidal fucks? You know what I mean? And they let it exist for 2 years. And that's how they do a lot of this. Instead of going in and putting the boot down directly, they let it dissolve over time. You know, usually any kind of these movements, is like Occupy Wall Street, they could go and just end it immediately. They have the weaponry. They don't use live rounds. What they try and do is make it seem like protest is cool, and then over time they'll control the narrative. But then over time, you know, this over 2 years, it's like more people come in, more people can infiltrate. A lot of people come there just to live there and not have to deal with society. They like the whole camping, like anarchy vibe, and like, just, okay, you can work in the kitchen and you can sleep here, Now, so there's some different lifestyles, especially in the hippie culture. This is 69 to 71. So this is right when, psychedelic culture had boomed in the 66, 67, and then everybody moves to San Fran, and actually addiction became a problem. So a lot of addicts moved onto the island, and the drugs became an issue. And so the situation deteriorated. The direction of the protest splintered ultimately. And that's kind of what happened with Occupy Wall Street. And then when it splinters, they can then change the narrative to, hey, everybody, look, this movement is dangerous. They're living in unsanitary conditions. It's very unsafe. We actually have to go in and clean this up. We can't allow this, right? And if they say that enough, eventually the public opinion will kind of support the removal of whatever occupation is happening, whether it's Occupy Wall Street or, there's so many. I mean, Waco, they wait 59 days and just keep telling there's children in there. And and whether or not the siege is warranted or not isn't really the case, but it's just whether the protest is warranted. I mean, this dude, Richard Oakes, was a badass. He knew exactly what he was doing. And he achieved a lot of it, even though they didn't survive as the encampment on Alcatraz. What that did for Native American activism and unifying everybody together, it changed the game. And that's the kind of shit. It's worth going hard for 2 years in your late 20s if that's what you believe in, because you might die when you're 30. And that's what happened ultimately. He after the Alcatraz, and he was in California, and there was some camp, and some camp counselor basically shot him because there was Richard Oakes confronted this camp counselor because this camp counselor was a known white supremacist, and he was mistreating Native American campers, whatever you call them, scouts
scouts. Yeah,
and Richard Oakes, these kids are defenseless against their camp counselor, so Richard Oakes steps in, is like, you got to stop fucking abusing these fucking natives. And so it basically, he was unarmed, but this camp counselor decided to shoot Richard Oakes, in self-defense, and Richard Oakes dies, and it's the end of his story. He died doing what he fucking believed in. And, not a lot of people know about that story. To me, the occupation of Alcatraz is a badass enough story that it's worth telling. But, dude, the way Richard Oakes gave his life to that, what he believed in. And, yeah, dude, it's crazy. I mean, so, yeah, who knows? I'm not saying I'm going anywhere near as hard as any activist that's actually out in the world protesting and making moves and standing up for shit and putting your life on the line. I'm just out here trying to relay those people's messages, which, and I'm just exhausted trying to keep up, but it's even more exhausting to go out and do that work and fucking put your life on the line. But yeah, respect to anybody that this year or previously and throughout history that's, gone out and stood up for what they believe in the face of obvious just fucking abuse of power, which is crazy. The history is dark, man. America's crazy. I like the people of America, the artists, the workers, the inventors. When I think of American history, and I'm proud, I think of that, but the way we're taught history, it's just the history of war, the history of power, the history of government, the history of borders. That's not the way I look at the world. I look at art history. I take all the way back to the cave paintings, and that's my people. So I criticize the American government, and I want to uplift the American people. That's ultimately what I'm all about. And I think most people are, whether they understand it or not. That should be the vibe. I would hope so. I'm optimistic.
Definitely.
Right?
Yeah,
Thanks for hearing me out, man. I'm
hell
fucking
yeah,
rambling.
man. Of course, you're chilling, man. Hey, we all appreciate it, and we appreciate all the work that you do, documenting everything. It's tough work. I speak on behalf of everyone. There was several people in the chat that said that they're very appreciative for everything that you do. So.
Yeah, it's been a trippy thing. I mean, I started that page. It was all about glass, and hot glass photography. And I had an Instagram page before, Pyroscopic, and it was more varied interests and my personal life and shit that I love and concerts I went to and shit that I saw while I was out, working my day job. And so, yeah, no, that page was more varied, and it was easier to get to know who I was. And I would post, once I got into hot glass photos, I'd post a couple, and people would kind of come and follow me, and then they'd come for the photos of glass, but then I'd post a flower or a selfie or a picture of my girlfriend or something, and it was just intimate parts of my life that these people weren't necessarily there for. They just wanted just the glass. So that's why I started this Pyro page. It was like, all right, I want to see a page that's focused on that. I see a lot of glass, but not most of it was finished work on Instagram, and I wanted to see more action shots. It's like that's how I got into this shit, is seeing somebody blow glass. So if I can get pictures of people blowing glass online for people that are swiping on their phone, maybe they'll get into it in a similar way that I did. So yeah, I just focused on that and just started posting only glass photos and stuck with that for, dude, I don't even know, like 3 years of almost all just glass content. And more I got into graphic design and doing posters for homies and maybe some helping a friend with a merch idea that they have. And I like to promote events and just try and keep people connected with the scene and different pieces that are being made. And but yeah, no, over time it's varied and it's become more documentation of artists, but also slipping in more of my original art and kind of, paintings and typewriter shit. And so, yeah, over time it's strayed away from being only glass and just trying to get closer to, representing all of my interests in a way. And I lose some people that want just the glass, or maybe people that don't want to hear about the politics or whatever it may be. But
fuck them.
Yeah, ultimately, and they have a right to expect a certain type of content from this page. You know what I mean? If I turned on Comedy Central and they were just playing a World War II documentary, I would be fucking confused. You know what I mean? So I get it. But, I try and see myself as an artist first. I'm not a publication. I'm not a magazine. I'm not High Times. I'm not hotglass.com or something. Like, I'm just an artist, and I've been documenting my life and broadcasting it outward. And it just happened that I dedicated my life for 5 years to this subculture. It was, in a weird way, just a form of activism, and just raising awareness is like this scene that I believed in, that deserved it, and people working hard in what they believed in. So if you're not used to activism and you're not really hip to what I've been doing ultimately, and so now I can't travel, I can't find, my subculture has been taken away from me, not mine, but ours. So every subculture, so, and pop culture has become politics and memes and propaganda and just listening to dumb shit that politicians say ultimately. So yeah, that's the shit I need to address right now. And I see a lot of my people out there being affected by politics, not knowing who to support or what they believe or what's good or bad and what's real or not. Of people, becoming victims to conspiracy theories that maybe have no foundation in reality, and then other ones that do research and know that there is shit going on that we don't, we're not ever going to be able to prove until 50 years later, and so the whatever the documents are declassified and shit like that, So, and I'm not trying to be like, I understand reality because I know that our government is doing some terrible shit, that operation whatever the fuck they call it today, that we won't find about until later. Yeah, so here, let me 1 second. We're getting heavy again.
Yeah.
Crazy. But yeah, I realize, dude. So I'm into education, and people say that the cure for racism is travel, and not people. So one guy, I forget his name, but one guy had a quote who said, "The cure for racism is travel." So, you travel outside of your small town, you get to meet people, different cultures, you get to understand the humanity behind the people instead of being afraid of what's other that you have no experience with. Travel can actually help bridge those gaps and realize that globalism isn't something to fear. There's no reason to be like so all about your country that you treat it like a sports team and it becomes 100%. Competitive. Yeah, it's not. Existence is not competitive. It's a 100%. Collaboration.
Well, and especially people that I just want to put this out there. This is my personal opinion. Especially people that go about putting the USA as their number one sports team, because as someone who has lived in the USA my entire life, you're lying to yourself if you think the USA is number one at pretty much anything. You're just lying to yourself.
Right. Well, we're number one at the sports that we pay attention to.
And at coronavirus.
Soccer or all that. And yeah, coronavirus.
Number one at coronavirus.
Football and basketball. And we invented basketball, so we should be the best at that. And we're the best at performance-enhancing drugs, so we should be the best at that. So
we should be the best at most sports then.
Right. It's not. Yeah, well, Lance Armstrong, he won the Tour de France, I think 40 times. He's only, but he lied it through his teeth the whole time, said he wasn't doping. And people wonder why America is so good at sports, and it's because we're good at lying. We're good at taking drugs. We're good, and that's what we're best at. And,
true.
So, yeah, a lot of American supremacy is just not fucking, it's just bullshit. And That's kind of what we're taught, is that we're the best, and we're fucking strongest military in the world and all this hoorah. And it's like, dude, nah, not at all. If you want to look at what we're best at, just look at like art and stuff. And not to say we are best at that, but like America's made some pretty cool art, and like jazz, and like there's been new mediums that have come from this country that are way more exciting to be proud of, and are less destructive than being proud of your military. I mean, we've killed so many fucking people. To think that that's the thing that gets you excited. I mean, it's scary. Even the whole like USA, it's like, bro, that's intimidating. It's like, it's not even. I had a foreign girlfriend once who we were celebrating 4th of July, and there was a party next door down the shore in Jersey, and a bunch of drunk people, and they just start chanting USA out of nowhere. I mean, there's no sports game in sight, or no Olympics, and no debate. They just start chanting USA. They're just like it's a wrestling match or something, and she's looking at me like, is this normal? Like, you guys all do this? And I'm like, honestly, most of us do. Yeah. And it's fucking scary. Now that you pointed it out, she was here during the Mitt Romney and Obama era, and we sat and tried to watch some debates, and she was just like, is this real? This is your politics? This is like, they're not even making points or talking about issues. They're making fun of each other. And I was like, oh my god, we're a fucking joke.
It's like a fucking, it's like a reality show is what it is. It's not even...
Exactly. That's why we have an entertainer as a president, and that's what we asked for, ultimately. That's the type. If they pay attention to ratings, they're going to move in that direction. And yeah, dude, if we were watching Jersey Shore, perfect example, or, whatever, Housewives of whatever city, and no disrespect to Housewives, but yeah, it's just, Cribs and all of these like materialistic type things. And it's like, it's not very educational. It's kind of like, yeah, exactly. But you get what you ask for. If we want to watch fucking Fear Factor and, see people do just gross shit and get injured and watch.
Oh, it's so gross, dude. Oh.
Well, I'm a victim of that too. Like, I go on YouTube and I watch skateboarders fall and hurt themselves, and we like to see violence, and a lot of movies that I watch are just, like Tarantino shit. It's very, very violent. And
Inglourious Bastards, is that
is
that your favorite movie, would you say?
Honestly, not my favorite movie of all time, but somebody asked me what's your favorite Tarantino movie, and I made a list one day, and me and Slinger, like, if you don't know Slinger, follow that dude. Also, watch Degenerate Art. All right, this is non-conspiracy based. But yeah, no, I made a list of Tarantino movies that I liked, and I ranked them, and a lot of people say Pulp Fiction is the one, and I just have to go with Inglourious Basterds. Just like, first of all,
such a good movie.
Excuse me.
Such a good movie.
Well, it's different. Like, Pulp Fiction, he was younger, he was fresh, he was hyped, and it was his first time with like a real budget, so he went fucking hard. He hired all the people he needed to. The story's super sick, super American, and super period piece, like 90s or whatever, and that vibe is so perfect. He murked it, and Pulp Fiction is a masterpiece. But then Inglourious Basterds, it's more of a global story. It's like about World War II, which I think across the globe people can relate to that story. I think Nazis are like the greatest villain of all time. There's nothing more satisfying than seeing a Nazi get what they deserve. It's like, so the fact that just heightens the level of satisfaction when vengeance arrives. Where in Pulp Fiction, it's like the villains are kind of cool. There's no real bad guys. It's morally ambiguous. It's like, Samuel L. Jackson and Travolta, they're I guess the villains. They run around, they're like henchmen or hitmen or whatever, but they're like awesome. They're likable. They're likable dudes. They just hang out and talk about shit, give foot massages, whatever the fuck they do. Go to diners and like. But there's nobody to hate in that movie. So when you set it up, Inglourious Basterds, it's just incredible. And most of it's not even in English or something. It's like a third French and German and Italian and then English, and so. Technically speaking, it's incredible creative achievement that he could even make that damn movie. It's like finding the right people that could speak multiple languages, the set design, all that shit, and just like, and I don't know, Aldo Rain, which is Aldo the Apache, the Brad Pitt's character. I think he's one of Brad Pitt's best characters. Is sort of like his whole intro with and it's just a perfect fucking movie.
It's such a good movie, honestly. I personally, I love Pulp Fiction, but I think it's slightly overrated. I do think that it's an amazing movie and a masterpiece, 100%. But I agree with you there. Inglourious Basterds is just so like, I still remember the first time that I watched that movie. I was like laughing my ass off, but just at the same time, I was like, this is so horrible. But it's like, so they put it in such a good way that you like felt so good about it, even though it was such a horrible thing. As far as like the Holocaust being such a horrible thing, killing Nazis not so much a horrible thing, which is the whole what made the movie so damn good, and just the writing of it, just everything about the movie was a fucking vibe.
For sure.
100%.
I mean, he shot it like a Western. I know he's inspired by Western movies, and so he kind of broke it down. A lot of that is so he kind of took it and made it into a European Western, and the way he shoots these kind of duels and yeah, no, it's a masterpiece. But he kind of like the way, yeah, it's funny because he didn't focus on. They don't really show many scenes of, except for the opening scene in the cabin in France where he's interviewing the dude, and then they find out there's people hiding in the basement, and that is that starts the fucking movie off, and that's like one of the most extreme examples of like Jewish persecution and murder in that movie. And for the rest of that, like they never really show any camps in the movie. They focus more on the journey, and in the city, it's the whole first chapter is once upon a time in occupied France. It's a lot of Parisian streets or whatever city they're in, and most of the shit that happens after that that's negative. It's all attention build up until the end, where all the damage is done on the Nazis. The whole high command is taken out. So and the build up to that is just so much tension, and it's kind of, and even in the bar scene where they get to fucking, it's just a shootout, and there's so much tension that when that tension breaks, you don't even know what to feel. And that's why so many people laugh at the most violent parts of his movies. Is this comic relief and satisfaction, and it's kind of just joy, which is a weird thing to feel when you're seeing something that's just morbid. I mean, that clip alone it'd be weird to see somebody laughing at such a brutal clip, but it's the emotional buildup leading up to that we have chosen, that we want to see that happen, and then when they deliver, it's just so relieving. And yeah, I mean, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood too. It's one of the less violent movies, and then at the end, there's that fight in the house, and that goes down, and that buildup happens, and it's just action packed, like 2, 3, 4 minutes of just so much shit happening, and shit flying, and dogs, and like guns, and and dudes tripping on acid, and like it's just crazy that and everyone in the theater was cracking up, just laughing hysterically, and I'm kind of just like, are we all fucking sick in the head that we're laughing at this? But it makes sense, and Tarantino is just a master in that fact that he knows exactly how to trigger that, and he knows it's working if that's the reaction. And it's funny that humans do react like that, but there's something super satisfying about just seeing justice played out, especially because it rarely happens in the fucking real world.
100%. I think that's the biggest reason why, is that
for sure
a lot of those aren't like, there's some reality base to them, but like they're not, truly fucking. I think like in Inglourious Bastards, you wanted to think it was a real story. There was people that hunted Nazis, but there wasn't. I don't think the whole. I looked it up. I don't think the whole thing is like there wasn't like.
Yeah, they obviously, right? He sensationalized it. I mean, I actually just watched a documentary last week. There was a group of, they were called the Inglourious Bastards, or maybe they called themselves that after the fact, I forget, but this documentary was called The Real Inglourious Bastards, and it basically talked about these Jews that were in, they were either in France or Germany at the time, or Poland, I forget, but basically as fascism was rising, they decided to escape, and they came to America, and then joined American forces, and we're going to go back just to fucking kill Nazis. And so, but the American army, when they realized that they had European immigrants who were here to fight Nazis, and they realized they knew the language, they knew the layout of the towns, like it was super helpful. So they created a special mission for these cats to go in, and they parachuted behind enemy lines, landed on a mountain. They were going to fucking ski down and land in this town where this one dude who was an ex-Nazi who left the fucking Nazis because he knew if they won that it was going to be a fucking nightmare. Mm-hmm. So he left Nazi Germany and went back into fucking kill Nazis, and he already knew a lot about sort of like at least where Nazi bunkers were and things like that, and he knew the town that he lived in, and he could actually help these Jewish cats who wanted to kill Nazis who were from different areas of Europe. He could help orient them to the small town, and basically they were trying to help liberate this one town. and it was occupied by Nazis, and it was just kind of mundane. I mean, it was already after the fact. It was like most of the Jewish people had been removed, and Nazis were just overseeing and heavily policing the area and making sure that no Germans were disloyal, and make sure that nobody was hiding Jews, and there was nobody there to fucking fight back. So that's ultimately what this mission was. I forget what it was called. It was like Operation whatever the hell. But the whole thing was they were there to collect information. They were to live, receive information, and relay that information back. So they weren't out there scalping Nazis and shit, and they weren't shooting up the high command and stuff like that. But there were real Inglorious Bastards, and there were different groups of people that did very similar shit and equally heroic. I mean,
definitely. Yeah. There's so many heroic stories about the Holocaust. 100%. Yeah. I've seen some pretty awesome ones, like that one school teacher that saved like 300 plus kids or whatever. I can't remember.
Damn, crazy. I need to learn about that. Yeah, I try. I like learning about it through movies, and then doing more research after that. I like to learn visually, and if you can make a movie and spend the money making a movie, the story's probably worth it. But yeah, if you watch all the World War II movies together, you can really get a scope of what the fuck went down in such a short period of time. It's fucking terrifying, man. It's one of the craziest periods, and there's a lot to learn from it. How it could even happen, and how it got that bad, and how it wasn't that long ago, and how we can start to try and notice the warning signs, ahead of time, and when do you fight back? At what point do you decide to fight back? Because it seems like America waited a little too long to join the fight. Europeans, were fighting as anti-fascist people, organizing themselves, and yeah, I mean, a lot of them were just fucking murked out of existence, and it's crazy. But luckily, World Army stepped in to try and stop, that world domination and complete genocide of people. Yeah, dude, I can't believe that is even real. And I think when we learn shit like that, it feels like mythology when we learn it. But until you really do the research and understand, some of these cats are still alive, and it's not myth, it's history, and it's fresh.
And the thing is, shit like this is happening today, and we fucking turn a blind eye to it, Not on the same level, but I mean.
Well, who's to say it's not on the same level? And no disrespect to the Jewish struggle, because there's no way to say that's not the worst and equal to all of the worst shit that's ever happened. But whatever, if you want to count death tolls or whatever the fuck, like there have been regimes that have done equally, if not more, statistically.
Mao Zedong, I think.
For sure, a lot of communism's done a lot of shit, and I honestly don't know a lot about it. Most of my shit has focused on fascism recently, but I mean, even right now, we have issues in China that we refuse to talk about, and
there's concentration camps now in China.
Exactly, and America, camps. Why the fuck doesn't America intervene? And ultimately, is because at the root, whether we're fascist or socialist or whatever, the leading force is capitalism. And if we can get cheap goods from China, and they can impose slavery on their people with cheap wages, and we don't have to do it to our people, we'll hold a visible moral high ground, and we'll be able to actually benefit from those cheap goods. But if we actually address their oppression, what's that going to do for capitalism? I mean, what the fuck's that going to do to the world economy? How am I going to get my iPhone for $700? And so, dude, definitely. Nobody wants to talk about that, but that's exactly the shit we need to be discussing. Is that when do you go in? Ultimately, I think
to stop that shit, because I mean, yeah. At some point, like labor that people agree on a price on is different than completely. There's slave labor out there, There's fucking slave labor. There's concentration
prison labor in America.
Is
no different
labor,
than slave labor. Whether they did a thing wrong to get in that position or not, nobody deserves to work that hard for those wages. And I mean, and that's still going on in America. But I don't even know the working conditions in a lot of countries, and a lot of countries like China won't really release a lot of that. It takes a whistleblower to even get it out.
100%. They're risking their lives, especially with how media is in China. I guess on a little bit of a different note here, as we move in to wrap this up, I have a good question for you.
Cool.
This is one that we actually asked last time that my girlfriend thought of, and I think that I'm going to have to use this question every single episode from now on.
Nice.
What's the highest thing you've ever done?
Whoa. The highest thing I've ever done, which obviously you could take that question to multiple things, is elevation or, internal elevation. So the first answer I'm going to say is probably skiing in Vail, which is the basic question, which I guess 11,000. I don't know how high those mountains are, but that's, and I stood on top of the World Trade Center like 1 month before they fucking came down. So I have that visual memory in my head. And when the events happened, I actually was able to use that visual memory to sort of empathize with people who were just tourists that day on the roof. And so that height and that elevation, that experience fucking sticks with me forever. But no, I assume you mean just stoned or deviating from reality. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I dude, it's hard to say, but wow, marijuana, dude, I don't know, man, because marijuana just makes me fucking focused, and I've never really, I don't know if I get high. I can feel like an X-Man when I fucking smoke weed. I become like my higher self or whatever it may be. But no, I think I'll focus on psychedelics because that's really where you can detach from reality. So, I mean, salvia is the highest I've ever been. I don't wish that upon anyone, even my enemies, unless you really want to feel like what it's like to die, which is actually super valuable. And there's not a lot of ways to feel like you're dying and come back from it. So yeah, if you could, this is a disclaimer, do not smoke salvia for any legal reasons. I'm not recommending it, but I was daring enough to try it out and it fucked me up, dude. I took a huge hit because I only wanted to do it once, took a massive hit and held it in as long as I could, and everything went black. And then it went more black. And then I woke up into what felt like a dreamlike state. No memory of smoking anything. It was just the beginning of a new dream, fresh consciousness. But dude, I'm going to try to break this down in like a 3-minute thing to try to explain what, because you could watch my salvia video. I have it somewhere on my timeline, but I had my brother film for research purposes, just in case something happened that I couldn't explain, or maybe I wanted to see it from the outside. And if it was funny, I would post it. That's the trend in 2010 or whatever the hell was going on. But yeah, no, so I smoked this shit. I sat on the couch and just laid back. I just said, bring it on. I fucking love this shit. And then, boom, full black. And so now I start my vision dream state, and I'm like eye level with the carpet, like just like that. And I see this carpet kind of like, and I realize I'm basically like a fucking baby, like a baby on all fours. And I look around, I'm in my first living room in the house I grew up in. I don't know, it's some connection to like my first living room. Just like you always remember your first phone number, but it took me back there. I'm in my first living room. I look up and I see my dad just towering over me. What the fuck is going on? I look around, and I'm sort of elevating a little bit off the carpet. I'm seeing more of the room, and then behind my dad is my mother. She just peeks out and she just like kind of fucking waves. I'm like, this is so weird. And then behind my mom points my brother, and it was like I realized these people were lined up. I'm like, yeah, and I'm kind of elevating. I think I'm actually getting older. I'm realizing I'm seeing everyone I had ever met in my life almost in like sequential order. And I look to the left and I look, and there's a line of people for fucking infinity. Everybody I've ever known in my life. And they're all lined up in an infinity. So at that point, I'm like, holy shit, I'm like fucking dreaming or like whatever. I had no idea I smoked salvia. I was just trying to cope with the fact that laws of physics were starting to bend. And I was like, okay, this is fucking weird. I don't know what is going on. I'm like, what? What's going on? Okay, stop that. Like, you can hear my video, me trying to talk to whoever the fuck's in front of me. But at one point, I look outside, and there's a window, and for some reason I can see Center City, Philadelphia, which isn't physically possible from that house. But there's a fucking huge bright light, and it looks like a nuclear explosion just went off in downtown Philly. And I was just like, dude, what the fuck? Like, this is the end. Like, I felt like I was having a vision state of the end of the world, And this blast of light comes, and it's coming towards us, and I'm like, dude, I'm fucking ready for this, like, whatever's about to happen. And it turns out it wasn't like an explosive bomb. It was what I call like a time bomb, which, time bomb is just a bomb that goes off after the countdown. But no, this is a bomb that broke time. So it was like, I was watching, and everything just started looping, and then looping, and then in looping, and then in looping, and that's how it went. And I was like, whoa, what's happening? Like, I thought I broke reality. Like, it was fucking terrifying, my dude. And I'm kind of asking for help from my loved ones. Like, what's going on? Stop that. Like, and then, dude, the ceiling starts fucking lowering on us, and like the line turned into like people spread out into like gridded people. Everyone's like 3 feet apart. I don't know what. And then the ceiling's coming down, and this grid is going around these people, and everybody's in their fucking like phone booth grid thing, and like, dude, there's this light everywhere, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And this alarm is going off, and like, I'm sure the fucking end of the world is happening, and like, everyone's just kind of looking at me like, it's okay, calm down, don't worry. I was like, what the fuck? Don't worry. Do you see this? And like, gravity is getting heavier. The ceiling's like, dude, pressing me down. Like, dude, I'm like, come on, let me go. Like, dude, I'm fighting gravity at this point. I realize I just have to surrender. Like, I can't fight this. If this is the end, I have no fucking choice. So I just surrendered. I ended up face down on my couch or whatever. But this, you know, and then basically this time started just laying on top of me like warm blankets. And I just got so comfy, and I just surrendered, and I was like, this is the fucking end. Oh, I'm fucking sorry. I love you all. And like, dude, it was the end of my fucking life. And then I just slowly started to wake up, and I realized that, oh my God, I just smoked salvia. And what the fuck? So my brother's there with the camera, and he's like, tell me what happened. Tell me what happened. Hurry up. Oh, it's so fresh. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck? Like, I couldn't even, I tried to stand up. I was like, what's going on? Like, you know, and dude, it was insane. It probably lasted 4 minutes tops. I felt like I was in this timeless space. It could have been, you know, an hour I was fighting that shit. But, dude, that was the highest I've ever been. Super potent psychedelic, all natural. Like, this is the kind of stuff that people could have smoked throughout history and been sent places to see some shit, to bring back and write some crazy stories, you know.
Yeah, I mean, well, on that note, I mean, DMT is another one that's on that same wavelength, but probably one that's a little bit less of a scary and more embracing, because salvia, I personally have never fucked with salvia, and I won't. Almost every single story that I've heard of people saying their salvia stories is, the one thing is very in common. They say gravity is like 1,000,000 times. You know how you said the fucking roof was closing in on you? You were on the floor. Every single fucking person that mentioned salvia, they're like, gravity's fucking squishing my head, pushing me down, holding me to the floor. I couldn't get off the floor, you know, whatever it may be.
That's some real shit.
Not a feeling I want to feel, dude. That's fucking...
No, it's not. There's nothing enjoyable about it. And I mean, to note, I don't know if psychedelics are there to be enjoyable, because I think like there's something shocking. There's a gift to that. When I woke up and realized I had the opportunity to live again, it just made me appreciate life more, and the fact that reality was sequential, and you know, you can put something on a shelf and the next day it'll be there, and like, you know, you can build upon that, and it's like reliable. But until you really deviate that, you're basically taking it for granted. Like, this shit is hella organized, and it's a fucking miracle. And people are wondering about like how, you know, what weird shit's going on out there. I mean, just everything is weird. I mean, the fact that we can say noises that send ideas to your brain, it's fucking, everything is magic, and but we don't really stop to analyze it. It's all just commonplace. Just so, yeah, psychedelics help just show you that it can all be taken away, or that there is just, you know, there's more energy at play than we're even perceiving, you know, that we're even capable of perceiving. And yeah, who's to say that, you know, we can't actually investigate this shit further and, you know, do it in repetitive ways and to actually explore it like fucking space, you know, and actually psychedelic map makers. And ultimately, that's what a lot of people have been doing individually. And there's institutions now trying to do that. But yeah, the war on drugs has pushed a lot of this research and shamanism underground. And it's kind of hard to even, it's hard to even prove it or have statistics. I mean, they weren't even able to really study the benefits of psychedelics until maybe 10 years ago. It's like John Hopkins was able to give people mushrooms and see if it helps with depression. And hey, guess what? It fucking works.
Yeah, they're finally like making studies that are going mainstream about how mushrooms help depression, you know. In Oregon here, we legalized mushrooms for like prescription mushrooms, basically.
That's why I did this shirt, ultimately, is to represent that and just celebrate, because yeah, dude, I'm so happy to see that. And not only the people that are struggling with addiction, but to have access to people who you can go to you'll be able to go to a psilocybin service center and get something that you can trust. Ultimately, every mushrooms I've ever got was from some shady Wookiee storytelling dude on the lot that I never met before, but I knew from a friend of a friend. And I'm like, well, have you eaten these yet? And as long as somebody I know ate them, then I was willing to eat them. But for the most part, it's just a stab in the dark. These mushrooms, you don't want to fuck around with it. You got to really know your shit. If you're
so true.
So the fact that we can help actually control that and regulate that and provide a safe, I mean, that's ultimately is. Like, same thing with heroin. And like, I'm not saying they're going to be giving out heroin, but the idea is that you don't know what you're getting on the street. And on the black market, people can be corrupt. And if there's no standards, people will be corrupt. If they can sell more heroin, if they lace it with resin or whatever the fuck, you know, it's like, what's stopping people from doing that? For sure. And not everybody knows, not everybody knows a connection, you know, like everybody's aunt and uncle doesn't know how to get weed. So, you know, every state that opens dispensaries, even though I'm not going to go to a dispensary, like, you know, somebody's mom or dad, or, you know, they might feel way safer doing that. And they don't have a college kid to call, and like, you know, so it opens it up for people and normalizes for people that are curious to see if it does work for them. And yeah, that's what we need, just opportunity for people to try it for themselves, and then hopefully be responsible with which ones they choose to put inside them. Ultimately,
100%.
If we have more weed and mushrooms, less people would do heroin. I feel like that's.
I think less people would do a lot of things that harm themselves and others.
Yeah, I mean, I was able to quit cigarettes. I smoked cigarettes for 10 years, and I've been telling myself I wanted to quit, but I didn't know how. And you try to wean yourself off. That never worked for me. So I wanted to do it, and I wanted to make a ceremony out of it. And I ate a little LSD, and I decided I was going into it, and the whole point of this trip was going to be to try and liberate myself from that mental pattern, just that every hour or 30 minutes, my brain was saying, "Oh, just have another, you know, just have another, just have another." So I was like, I need my free will. It's not even about not smoking. Tobacco's fine, but addiction and the lack of free will that you have when a substance controls your physical activities, that was something I wanted to address, and I wanted to gain that power back. So yeah, dude, I went in, I ate some LSD, I kind of smoked some pot, I put on some music, I meditated for a while, I breathed really deep, and then I actually did my technique. I don't know if I figured this out, but I went into the bathroom and looked into the mirror, which they say don't look into the mirror when you're tripping, which I kind of recommend it. I look at what they say don't look at. And so I'm looking in the mirror, and I'm staring at myself, and it's sort of just crazy what happens. You lock in on your eyes, which you're looking into your eyes, but then you realize you're looking out of your eyes, but then you're looking back into your eyes. It's a fucking weird thing that if you stop to just analyze it, that there's this feedback thing between the TV and the camera, and they're working together, and now all of a sudden just staring into yourself is like a very weird thing. And then if you kind of just relax and clear your mind, you focus on your eyes, and everything else can kind of just fade away. And what just happens then, especially with psychedelics, is like, and you don't even need psychedelics, but you just enter a visionary state. You can do this, or you're just hypnotic. Just stop thinking for a little while, and you'll get there. But yeah, your pores start to move around a little bit. I'm like looking at myself in the mirror, and you start to get a little distorted, and I feel like a little older or younger, and like you can see versions of yourself and like grotesque versions of yourself, and then you'll snap back into like some recognizable version. And dude, it got weird. It was subtle, but you got to like embrace it and try and see how crazy it can get. And so just standing there and staring, and I decided I actually took my shirt off, and I was staring in the mirror, and I was looking at myself breathe, and it was just kind of trippy. And I'm like a pale dude. You can kind of even like see my veins in general. You can kind of see, like, I'm fucking see-through. It's very weird. And I'm tripping balls, and I'm watching myself breathe, and I'm kind of just, I felt like a fucking Alex Gray painting. Ultimately, it was just like a exquisite corpse. I could feel like I saw my veins, and I understood the fucking biology of my body. And then when I got into that, it was kind of like flickering in and out, but I could even see like my skeleton if I wanted to. It was I was like getting X-ray visions of myself, which is just, I was like just blown away and super thankful. I'd never really gotten that. And at that point, I decided to have my last cigarette, and I had my last cigarette, and I just like light it, and I look myself in the face, and I take a huge pull, and I kind of watch it go in the back of my mouth and go down and just disappear. And I'm like, realize it's just chilling, and then just blow it back out into my face. And I was just like, oh my God, that was just so unnatural. Like, that was ridiculous. It didn't add anything to my existence. It broke a tension that it created, which was an illusion, and so it was the most insane thing. And to realize what I was doing physically, and then from that point on, I just imagined that if I don't change this shit tonight, it's either I'm going to breathe deep and feel good about it, or I'm going to get cancer. And I just made it like an absolute, you know what I mean? It was like, okay, here's your choice. These are the options. Hope for the best, realize the possibility for the worst, but it was like, if I don't actually make this an ultimatum, I'll never settle this with myself. So I just feared cancer and that kind of general, like, psych yourself out of it and realizing, like, oh, I really don't need these things. And then I fucking just enjoyed the rest of my trip. I breathed deep, smoked a bunch of weed, listened to music, just traveled inward, and woke up the next morning, and you kind of just hope that whatever is there that makes you smoke isn't there, and that's kind of how it went. Maybe the first week was tricky. I had a very short fuse. I would get snappy and things would bother me or whatever. But that's just the nature of being a brat ultimately, and just being so used to having what you want and then not getting it. It's kind of like, so I got over these little temper tantrums, and then you realize after that you're not actually that short fused. And cigarettes kept me short fused. I'd be driving in traffic and just get the fuck out of the way, and like just just general like anger for recreational purposes, and just like and that was much easier to do when I was smoking cigarettes, and then you could just cigarettes win because you can just step outside and have a smoke and everything's solved now. So it's a weird thing that they trigger attention so that it can reward itself and anchor itself to you as a solution. But yeah, no, it's just about fucking mentality, peace of mind, not letting little things bother you. Don't sweat the small shit, and you really won't need the cigarettes. You can just kind of fucking breathe. Every time I wanted a cigarette, I just stopped and did like 10 push-ups, which I never do push-ups, but it actually helped me. It took whatever energy was building up, and like I just wanted to fucking have one, and I would just put it in to fight gravity instead. And then boom, I'd just get up. I was a little bit out of breath, breathing deeper, get my blood flowing, and then just get back to work. And that worked. And I did that for the first week, and after that, it was actually way easier to quit cigarettes than I thought. I was just afraid to know if I was too weak to fucking win the battle. I never wanted to really try because I was afraid to fail ultimately. So yeah, anybody that's trying quitting, I'm not saying do LSD unless you actually have experience with psychedelics or whatever, or unless your state makes it legal and you can then try some mushrooms. But yeah, man, I think psychedelics aren't necessarily there for a fun time. I basically get it for personal growth and focus, and I rarely trip with people anymore. I used to eat them at music festivals and have a blast, and that tribal feeling is great too, dude. Rocking out 80,000 people, everybody's lawless, and you trust everyone, and that's a fucking beautiful feeling of freedom. I love that. Woodstock is hugely inspiring to me, like 3 days of peace and music and just fucking LSD, dude. That is a dream, and I'm glad I got to experience that in different music festivals throughout time and a rainbow gathering and things like that. And I think, yeah, that is the outward expression of psychedelic culture, and I think it's equally important that a small percentage of those people take the time to go inward and figure out some shit and then communicate it elsewhere for outward for people that are afraid to take psychedelics, or for people that can't make sense of all the craziness that happens, or just don't have the words to fucking explain it, because a lot of what you see is just impossible to describe. We don't really have a lot of words for what happens and when you meet infinity face to face.
Definitely, 100%.
Yeah, man.
Pyro, it's been fucking awesome, man. Thank you.
Cheers,
you so
yo.
much,
Thank you, man.
Hell yeah. Cheers, yo. I'm gonna load up one last bowl here so we can rip it up. It's been so nice having you on, man. Honestly, it's been a pleasure chatting and blazing down with you. It's been nice.
Thanks for letting me do my thing, man. I didn't know what we were going to talk about, but I figured it'd be good, just exposure for both of us, and just to get the message out there. I appreciate you letting me ramble. That seems to be like what I do more of. I might even start a podcast in the near future just to harness my. You
should do it up, dude. Why not, dude? Just fucking start a podcast. You do your research on stuff anyway, so you can have your
Yeah, that's exactly what the direction I try to be moving in, and ultimately, but I guess the only reason nobody does anything is just fear of failure. So that's kind of what's been holding me back. But I really am not afraid of that. And just focusing on whatever the hell I've been doing has been so exhausting that it's just hard to find time to push that as hard as I would need to make it as good as I'd like to. And but no, I look forward to it, man. I think that's kind of a part of the next chapter for me, and maybe in the new studio. And yeah. That's about it.
Hell yeah. Well, the chat says that they appreciate you and all your insights and your stories, and they really appreciated being here and sharing this with us today. So
I love it. I mean, for personal research, cheers, bro. Rip that fucking bomb. Personal research, I was studying the word yo just to understand it more, and it's cool because cheers, yo, and what the fuck in the etymology, I like studying words, but yeah, yo is kind of, they say it might go back to 1400s Britain, but I know. Basically, it was supposedly popularized in Philadelphia, actually, which is where I'm from, but Italian Americans and African Americans kind of picked it up. Supposedly in World War II, it was like a roll call thing, and they'd be like, Sergeant Miller, and instead of saying here, they would actually respond with yo, and it was kind of just declaring your presence or something like that. You know what I mean? So I think that's kind of how we use it now. If you see somebody from far away, you're like yo, and it's kind of, I'm letting you know I'm here. So it's like a roll call thing, but then we also use it for other fucking things. It's like, cheers yo is kind of just like a greeting and be like, whatever, cheers to you. Ultimately, is kind of what it means. I say thanks yo, like a lot. In my DMs, it's just like, they're like, oh, that piece is sick. I'm like, thanks yo. And it basically is a thank you or thanks to you. And it's just funny how a noise like yo, it can mean many things. I like the word wow. I think wow is just a fucking weird word. It doesn't mean anything. I don't even know if it's a word. I think it's like crying. I think it's a reaction. You know what I mean? I think the first word was wow. Like, caveman just saw a double rainbow when he was eating mushrooms, and he just saw a double rainbow, and he's like, wow, But no, it's certain things like that, noises that in cultures, and it's like, what the fuck does that even mean? Because we say it, but I never stopped to think about it. But yeah, I fucking love yo. It's a funny word. It's funny that you use that for the title of the podcast, and it's cool to see that being popularized. But yeah, fucking cheers, yo. I appreciate you having me on. You're the fucking man. I hope you grow this podcast into something bigger than you can even imagine. And
I appreciate that, man. Maybe we'll have you on again in the future, man. That'd be awesome. I'm sure that we could just bullshit for hours and hours anytime. So.
Right? I don't even know how long it's been, but yeah, dude, I appreciate you hosting me and your good vibes. You keep it up with your content creation. Let's do a collab. We should mail each other canvases and just make.
I'd love to, man. I'd love to. That'd be awesome. Definitely, yeah. Maybe I'll hit you up in the future for some T-shirt type shit too. I know that you're crazy with graphic design.
Yeah, dude. I'm happy to help anybody. I think you guys got some ideas. If you got an idea in mind, I might be able to bang it out. And especially if it's a cool idea. But yeah, especially that's basically what I do is I help homies try and get their concepts in digital form and let people know what their vibe is. And so, yeah, I'd be happy to help you out, man.
Much love. Well, appreciate you, Pyro. It's been fucking lit, man. I'm blazed as fuck. One more time, everybody, if you're trying to see more of Pyro's work, follow his Instagram at Pyroscopic. It's just the same as his it's in the bottom left-hand corner of his thing right there. And check it out. Appreciate all the love, everyone. Until next time.
Later, y'all.
Appreciate it, Pyro. Much love, man.
You're the man, Cosmos. Thank you so much, bro.
Hell yeah, it's been lit.
Fuck yeah. I'll see you soon. I'll see you on the internet.
Hell yeah.
Fuck yeah, brother.